Diddy's last chance to escape his prison sentence is slipping away after President Trump announced that he will not be granting him a pardon. To make matters worse, Diddy's request for bail at $50 million has also been denied. This could be the end for him. With sentencing just a month away, it seems likely that Diddy will spend the rest of his life behind bars. But what did Diddy say to Trump that led him to deny the pardon? And is there any other way for Diddy to get out?
Trump now clarifies his comments during an interview with Newsmax on August 1st.
Sean Diddy Combs,
Right.
would you consider pardoning him?
Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent.
Yes.
I don't know what they do. He's still in jail or something, but he was celebrating a victory, but he seems, I guess it wasn't as good as a victory. Probably, I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great. And seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well. But when I ran for office, he was very hostile.
He said some not so nice things about you, sir.
Yeah, and it's hard, like you, we're human beings.
Right.
And we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right? But when you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office and he made some terrible statements. So I don't know, it's more difficult. It makes it more, I'm being honest, it makes it more difficult to do.
But more likely a no for Combs,
I would
sounds
say
like.
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
CNN confirmed a few weeks ago that Diddy's lawyers had been in talks with the Trump administration about a potential presidential pardon. Diddy's legal team had denied this from the beginning, but after White House staff confirmed that discussions with Trump were taking place, Diddy's lawyer was forced to acknowledge it. His attorney, Mark Agnifilo, stated that Diddy instructed him to reach out to Trump and say, "I need a pardon."
Senior White House official declined to comment on, quote, speculation and told us any decision on pardons would come from the president himself. Combs' attorney, Mark Agnifilo, said he has not talked to the Trump administration about it. You mean to tell me that you really have nothing to do with a possible pardon right now?
Nothing. I have nothing to do with a possible pardon.
What is Sean Combs saying about the possibility of the pardon?
I think he knows I'm not political. We've never discussed it other than I tell him what's in the news about it.
And what's his reaction? Does he laugh? Does he say, let's look into it? What does he say?
Go tell him that I need a pardon. Go tell him I deserve a pardon. That's what he said.
How are you preparing him?
So, I tell him what the guidelines are, and the guidelines are about 2 or 3 years. And I tell him, the judge could go above the guidelines.
Do you have any regrets in how you tried this case?
It's a good question. Not really. Not really.
You called the relationship between Combs and Ventura a great modern love story. Ventura says she was raped, physically abused, and became addicted to drugs because of Combs.
I think that's what makes it. We vehemently deny. And I know I respect that she said that. I don't think the jury concluded that happened. In terms of the drugs and the other stuff, I think that's what makes it a modern love story. I think she very much loved him, and I know he very much loved her.
Cassie Ventura's attorney told us that Agnifilo's description of the relationship is a, quote, complete disgrace and affront to survivors of domestic violence.
During a press interview, Trump admitted that he and Diddy used to be friends and mentioned he would consider looking into a pardon. In another recent interview, Trump described himself as essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent. He seemed to be celebrating a victory, though he admitted it wasn't as much of a victory as he had hoped.
Diddy was a good friend of yours back then. He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think some people have been very close to asking. First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up. From what I read, I don't know. He didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden. It's different. You become a much different person when you run for politics and you do what's right. I could do other things, and I'm sure he'd like me, and I'm sure other people would like me, but it wouldn't be as good for our country. As we said, our country's doing really well because of what we're doing. So it's not a popularity contest. So, I don't know, I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact on me.
Now, the final thing I want to say is this. I asked Joe Tacopina, what about Trump's comment? What does it do to the jury? And he thought it was a nightmare for Diddy that Donald Trump said this. And the reason he thinks that is when the jury goes into deliberations, they could end up saying, well, look, I mean, even if we convict him, because we kind of think he's guilty, we're not sure he's guilty, but if we find him guilty, he's probably going to get pardoned because Trump kind of sent that message.
The people around Diddy have been talking for years about the possibility of a presidential pardon. Suge Knight even claimed that Diddy has been an informant for the feds and that they would help him avoid a sentence. One way or another, Diddy was feeding them information. The cops knew exactly what Puffy was involved in, yet he was never indicted. That's why Diddy was so open about his crimes. He knew nothing was going to happen to him.
Suge, do you think he's going to be all right because someone's going to tamper with the jury? Is that what you're trying to say?
He got enough influence, and I'm quite sure, don't seem like the prosecution is that bad against him. Don't seem like I think he got some favors with the government. I think they're going to show him a little leeway. It might not seem like it when it's all said and done, but I don't think he has nothing to worry about. I don't think he's worried because he's going to be federal. And if he get convicted, Trump's going to pardon him. So what's the worry?
You think the President of the United States would pardon Sean Combs for trafficking?
Shit, he pardoned Michael Harris, who allegedly killed a Jewish teenager or had him killed. So they don't care about that. It's all about, what's in it for the long run and what the bucks say and what the power of the people want.
How does it go on for so long? When we were on the street, we didn't get a day's rest. I mean, the government was all over us. The FBI is all over us. They got investigations on us. They got informants. They got surveillance equipment.
He was not cutting you off, but he was an informant for years.
Was he really?
Yeah. That's why when people was like, oh, he's going to run, he's not. It's the reason why these type of people get caught up. They always been telling them they're bigger than the law because they part of the law, And as you know, all these people get tired of their rats sooner or later.
Things haven't been going Diddy's way lately. Trump has made it clear that while he might forgive, he doesn't forget. Back when Trump was running for office, Diddy launched a hate campaign against him and even started his own political party. In a recent interview, Trump said that the things Diddy said about him will make it very difficult for him to consider granting a pardon.
Have got too serious of a point. Seeing what's going on, white men like Trump need to be banished. That way of thinking, it's real dangerous. This man literally threatened the lives of us and our families about going to vote.
Stand back and stand by.
Stand back and stand by.
Yeah.
We're in a war. We're not taking this like it's a war. We're taking this like, we're in a presidential election. No, we're in a war of love versus hate. The number one priority is to get Trump out of office. The tribe of people that have the responsibility and really should be scared to death of this man is white people.
Explain.
If this man is elected, we're not standing by no more getting killed. We're not scared of anybody standing up and standing by. We're on the verge of a race war.
Probably the biggest reason Trump changed his stance on Diddy is because of 50 Cent ever since the news first broke about a possible presidential pardon. 50 Cent has been posting videos of Diddy's hate campaign against Trump to remind him why he shouldn't forgive Diddy. 50 even tweeted, "See, Trump doesn't like stuff like this, buddy. You run your mouth too much."
White men like Trump need to be banished. Trump gets elected, I really do believe in my heart there'll be a race war. That's why this message is not just to black people. You know what I'm saying? This message is to everybody. This man is really trying to turn us against each other and put us in a situation. America messed up.
President Trump even called him a good friend on a 2012 episode of his TV show The Apprentice. The problem is, some comments Diddy made about Trump in recent years as Diddy really entered the political realm. There's a video where he's speaking to radio host Charlemagne saying, if Trump gets elected, I really do believe in my heart there'll be a race war. In another video on Revolt, he says white men like Trump need to be banished. And by the way, you know who's not letting anyone forget this? Combs' rival 50 Cent. Took to social media recently, wrote, see, Trump don't like S like this, buddy, you run your mouth too much. And Donald doesn't take well to disrespect and doesn't forget who chooses to go against him. While working tirelessly to make America great again, there is no room for distraction. He would consider pardoning anyone who is being mistreated, not Puff Daddy. And let me tell you, the idea of Trump pardoning Diddy is not getting a ton of love out there.
Gone Deal predicted this a year ago. He said Trump was never going to pardon Diddy. They're not friends like that anymore. And Trump doesn't want the backlash that would come if he pardoned someone like Diddy. People close to the former president said Trump felt disrespected and decided he wouldn't stick his neck out for someone who publicly humiliated him.
How do you feel about the people that feel like Trump, he might pardon Diddy?
First of all, he got to be charged and be in prison to be pardoned. You got to realize that the feds could take this case for 2, 3, maybe 4 years, and Trump will be out of office. You don't know how long the feds is gonna go on with this. You understand what I'm saying? You hear people talking crazy talk, well, they ain't got nothing because, man, I've seen the dude set behind bars for 2 years before he had his trial with the feds. And by the time a pardon come in, another year will come by. So that's just a whole lot of propaganda. Puff wasn't even fucking with Trump like that no more. He was going against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is petty as 50 Cent. Do you understand that? You see how petty 50 is? Donald Trump is just as petty as 50, bro. And he gonna look at it and say, yo, why should I help this motherfucker when he talking shit about me? The diddler. I seen them in a meeting together before. Al Sharpton, Wendy Williams, Puff Daddy, and Donald Trump at the Four Seasons Hotel downtown. And I'm sure he was telling them because all this shit is planned, bro. Yo, you know I'm gonna be president one day. I'm gonna need y'all support. But they flipped. You understand what I'm saying? They flipped. Because everybody was dealing with Donald Trump at one time. That was in the music record business and all that stuff like that. So my whole thing about it is, all that shit is propaganda, bullshit. It's just having somebody, they need something to talk about. Donald Trump probably wouldn't put on Puff if he was on fire.
Even if Trump were to pardon Diddy, he would still have to spend at least a year or more behind bars. Keep in mind, Diddy hasn't even been sentenced yet, and a pardon can only happen after he's already in prison. The entire process could easily take over a year, and no one knows what might happen to him during that time. Diddy is well aware that his reputation on the streets puts him at risk behind bars. Many people want revenge on him, and prison would be the easiest place for them to get it.
You heard how Trump, he spoke on giving Puffy a pardon? You heard what he said about it?
He still would have, if he pardoned Diddy, as far as I know, he would still have to go through the process. I don't think Trump is just going to send the marshals or the Department of Justice, teach them over there to the fucking jail, yo, get Diddy out. And when he had friends that went to jail, remember he had friends that went to jail who worked for him, who did some shit. What did he do? They went through the same process that every person go through in giving a pardon. And that might take a year, that may take 2 years. But he's gonna have to go through the process first because I don't think Trump is gonna show him any special favors for him not going through the process. So if Trump said that he may pardon him, he might still have to do a year, 9 months, or even longer than that. And I don't believe he is. I think 50 gonna be right there in his ear. And I think 50 is closer than Trump than Diddy is.
To make matters worse, prosecutors are now pushing for an even longer prison sentence. It's expected that the judge may set aside federal guidelines and impose a much harsher punishment than Diddy anticipated. While federal guidelines provide recommendations, they don't strictly limit the sentence length, leaving it up to the judge to decide what's appropriate given the circumstances.
In early July, Combs was convicted on 2 prostitution-related charges, each carrying a maximum sentence of 10 years. He was found not guilty on the more serious racketeering charges.
Today's a great victory.
After the July verdict, prosecutors initially expected Combs would face a prison term of 4 to 5 years, according to CBS News. However, according to a written submission filed Thursday in a Manhattan federal court, as reported by the Associated Press, the expected sentence is now substantially higher. The submission also opposed Combs' request to be released on a $50 million bail ahead of his October 3rd sentencing. The filing also says Combs must remain in custody until sentencing unless he can prove exceptional circumstances, and according to prosecutors, he cannot. This comes after a previous bail request for $1 million was also denied following the verdict. A federal judge ruled there was no evidence to suggest Combs doesn't pose a danger to others or the community. With these latest developments, Combs will remain in jail until his sentencing on October 3rd.
Diddy trial prosecutors put in an opposition to Diddy's bail request, and the prosecutors say they're actually looking for a more lengthy sentencing than what they originally thought. In this opposition, the prosecution is laying out the fact that the judge already denied Diddy's bail for being a violent person, and they hone in even more into Diddy's alleged violence against people. Prosecutors are saying that Diddy has actually been lying when he said that he didn't commit violence between his breakup with Cassie Ventura in 2018 up until 2024 with his incident with Jane. Let's go ahead and jump right into this motion. The government says despite the court's clear ruling that the defendant must be detained pending sentencing following his conviction on 2 felony counts, the defendant moves again for bail. The defendant's detention pending sentencing is mandatory. There is no exceptional circumstances justifying his release. Even if there were, the defendant cannot demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that he is not a danger to the community. This court properly denied the defendant's request for bail on July 2nd of 2025, and the defendant has failed to present any reason for the court to reconsider its ruling. The court should deny the defendant's motion on this again on that basis alone, but then they get into listing more reasons. The defendant has failed to meet the strict standard for reconsideration. As an initial matter, the defendant's motion is untimely under Rule 49 because the motion was filed 27 days after the court's July 2nd, 2025 bail determination. The defendant fails to meet Rule 49, which is a 14-day deadline. Go on to say that Diddy has failed to show any exceptional reasons why he should be released on bail waiting sentencing.
Diddy's legal team has just applied for bail for the 5th time, this time offering $50 million. In the request, his attorneys proposed a $50 million bond package backed by his Miami mansion, along with conditions such as surrendering his passport, restricted travel, no phone or internet access, and home detention under private security. Diddy is terrified of what could happen behind bars, and many believe he'll try to run the moment he's granted bail.
Diddy's legal problem. So Diddy's legal team has just filed a motion for bail. They're offering $50 million. They're, basically arguing that it's unfair that he's behind bars given the nature of his conviction. His attorneys are asking the judge to approve the $50 million bond package, and they want him to live on house arrest in his Miami mansion while he waits, for his convictions. Now, the judge, has ordered Diddy to remain in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center until October 3rd, when his sentencing is set. So, and remember, the judge also, cited during the case that Diddy's admitted violence towards his former lovers, including Cassie. He said, quote, "It's impossible for the defendant to show he possesses no danger to any person." So he said that. So that's the reason he felt that he needed to stay behind bars. So I'm wondering, you know what I mean, if this, if this will still apply.
To the Sean Diddy Combs case, we may learn this week if he will be released on bond while he awaits sentencing. His lawyers filed a request asking the judge to release Combs on $50 million bond. Combs was convicted earlier this month on charges of transportation to engage in prostitution, and he was acquitted of more serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. The government is expected to respond by this Thursday. Combs' sentencing is scheduled for October.
Judge Arun has declared that Diddy is a flight risk, and given his history of violence, it wouldn't be reasonable to release him on bail, no matter how much money he offers. Cassie's lawyer and her friend, Deontay Nash, have both submitted public statements to the court urging them to deny Diddy's bail. It's clear that if Diddy is released, he may target the people who testified against him. Cassie would be in serious danger if Diddy were granted bail or a pardon.
Let's see what's going to happen with this Diddy trial. Federal prosecutors are now responding to Diddy trying to get out, right, while he's waiting to get sentenced. And so basically what prosecutors are saying is that they believe that his response, that his crimes reflect aggravating, not mitigating factors, and they want to justify his continued incarceration. Diddy had said that he's just a John. He's not the one that participated in having sex with these male escorts. He only watched. Right. And his ex-girlfriends are the ones that had sex. Well, they said that ignores the fact that he transported individuals for the purpose of prostitution on hundreds of occasions over the course of decades. And they also said he did ply Cassie and Jane Doe with drugs to make sure they would participate in marathon freak-off sessions while victimizing them through his violent outbursts. So they said he should not be released on a $50 million bond because he does pose a danger and he has a history of violent behavior.
Sean Diddy Combs has been denied bail after the verdict in his trafficking case, and here's how he took the news. According to NBC News reporters in the courtroom, Combs appeared, quote, deflated as his hopes of going home were seemingly dashed as his lawyers attempted to convince Judge Aaron Subramanian to release their client ahead of his sentencing. In his ruling, Subramanian cited Combs' years-long pattern of violence as a reason for him to remain behind bars, adding that he continues to be a danger to others and unable to follow the law. Arguing that Combs, who pleaded not guilty to sex trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, as well as transportation to engage in prostitution, was acquitted on the three most serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering and only convicted of prostitution-related offenses. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo insisted he should be released on appropriate conditions. As Agnifilo outlined, Combs would be willing to put up a $1 million cash bond co-signed by his mom Janice Combs, his sister Keisha Combs, and Sarah Chapman, the mother of Combs' eldest daughter Chance Combs, and have no access to his private plane, which is currently grounded in Maui. He also agreed to surrender his passport, undergo drug testing, and restrict travel to areas of New York, Florida, and California as necessary to attend court and meet with lawyers.
Interestingly, Diddy's lawyers are now trying a new tactic. They want the entire case thrown out. Their argument is that since Diddy never personally took part in any of the freak-offs and only watched on the sidelines, he shouldn't be convicted. But let's not forget, Diddy was the one arranging everything and directing how it all went down. If that doesn't make him guilty, then what does?
Sure. So the Mann Act was passed in 1910, and it's changed a few times through the years. But really what it's geared at, what it's focused on, is prosecuting people who make money from the business of prostitution. And that's not the allegation against Mr. Combs. The allegation of Mr. Combs, what the jury found, essentially was that he was a user of services provided by workers, essentially a John, for lack of a better word. And the Mann Act just historically hasn't been applied to Johns. It's a financial statute. It's really been applied at people who look to make money from prostitution. And so since that's not how it's being applied here, we made the argument that we have to, under the case law and the statutes in this area, that this is an exceptional reason and that Mr. Combs should be considered for release on bail because of it.
Well, Diddy is upping his offer to the government. He wants out of jail right now. You know that he is still behind bars at Brooklyn MDC while he is awaiting his sentence in October. But right after he was sentenced, they tried to get out on bail. They made an offer. They said, we'd like for him to be released on $1 million bail. The judge shut that down. So now it's like he's playing Let's Make a Deal, right? How about this, Your Honor? What if we offer a $50 million bail package? The money has gone up, but the reason that he thinks he should get out is because he says what he's convicted of were nonviolent offenses. And he's right. He's right that he was convicted on 2 counts of the Mann Act. The Mann Act is hiring a prostitute and taking the prostitute across state lines. It's a nonviolent crime.
To make matters worse, a new lawsuit has been filed against Diddy. This time, both he and his son Justin Combs are accused of being involved in a brutal assault back in 2017. According to the lawsuit, the woman claims she was lured to Los Angeles with promises of a job, only to be held captive for an entire weekend and repeatedly assaulted.
The self-proclaimed bad boy for life, Sean Combs, is facing a series of new allegations of sexual abuse and sexual assault tonight. At least 6 people filed civil lawsuits against him in federal court in New York today. I think the biggest headline from here is that one of these alleged victims was a minor. That's serious.
Very serious, and I agree with you, Elizabeth. Obviously, it changes the game. This is just a civil lawsuit, but if that works its way into the federal criminal indictment, if there is indeed a superseding indictment, that changes the game in 2 ways. One, of course, there's a mandatory minimum and very serious sentences for trafficked minors. But importantly, it really gets around one of Combs's defense, that is that the sexual contact happened, but it was consensual between adults because, of course, minors cannot consent.
So, with Trump refusing to grant a pardon and the court shutting down his bail request, Diddy's future looks darker than ever. The man who once seemed untouchable may have finally run out of power, money, and favors to save himself. But what do you think? Should Diddy get a second chance? Or does he deserve to spend the rest of his life behind bars? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss an update on this story.